You ready? You bet. It's morphin time! Tyrannosaurus! Alright, let's do this! Robbie?
What's up?
What is that?
What are you talking about? What the? Where did this come from?
Hello, Power Rangers fans. My name is Robbie. You're watching Geek Level Asian, and I just watched the most recent episode of Power Rangers Dino Fury, episode 4, and we're going to talk about it. Come in. Let's chat about it. If you haven't already watched the episode, just so that everyone viewing understands, this is going to be pretty spoiler heavy. So make sure that, if you want to watch the episode first, watch the episode first. But let's continue on. Before we dive in, make sure that you like this video so that other Power Rangers fans will see this in their feed on YouTube. And without further ado, let's get started. So first of all, every episode so far of Power Rangers Dino Fury, in my opinion, has gotten better and better and better and better. I really loved the introduction to these new Rangers, the Black and Green Ranger, Javi and Izzy. I'll get into more about that later. I really like the action sequences in this episode, and I really like Zayto's character. So I'm really gonna go into some highlights about this episode in particular, and then I'll start talking about what this video is actually titled, because it's been something that's been a topic of conversation in the community, and I think it needs to be addressed. And it also begs some other questions, so we'll get to that later. So some quick highlights and things that I really liked that they did in this episode. Number one, I like that they introduced the characters separately, which is something that they didn't do in Real Soldier. We were introduced to the Black and Green Ranger pretty much at the same time, and they came as a package, as a duo. In this episode, they introduced Izzy and Javi at different times, and I think that gave them not only more foundation, but allowed for us to be introduced to them in a way where we can get used to one at a time. That way, they're more independent characters, even though they are siblings. Or step-siblings, which is actually one of my questions, because Izzy says that the warden is her stepfather. Is she blood related to Javi, and is he their stepfather, or are they stepbrother and sister? I don't know. Leave that answer in the comments if you already know that, because I don't. One of the things that I think is funny is that Javi is a musician, and he plays the harmonica and is trying to save up money to buy a guitar. Like, literally, two of the most, at least in 2021, the least popular instruments to play, really ever. There's an argument that a guitar is technically a synth, and you could put it on a table and just write music with it. But a guitar is pretty specific. If you want a guitar, you want to stand up and play that thing. And I don't know a lot of artists who are doing that right now. Maybe he's just on another level, and I just don't get it. I really loved the action sequence in the forest after they morphed for the first time. I loved how Javi was doing the double sword thing. I thought that was really cool. And I loved when Izzy was up in the tree on the javelin, and then she kind of does like a backflip down, grabs her sword, and attacks. That was really cool. More acrobatics and camera magic rather than just sword slashing on the ground. I would love for them to do more of that. It also really set up Javi and Izzy as fighters, right? It really gave us, again, a foundation of what their characters are going to be like. Javi made some bold, interesting choices before he actually became a Power Ranger. He's watching the Power Rangers fight these two literal monsters in the forest and decides, let me play the harmonica, that'll show him. He also takes this orb that has mystical powers and thinks it's a good idea to throw it on the ground. Like, what if it was like nuclear, man? Like, that could have literally destroyed the planet. You don't know what's gonna happen. Everything worked out. It broke into pieces and the keys were inside. I loved the introduction to Izzy when Zayto says that he was a knight. I loved the way she delivered the line, well, I'll let you know if I see any dragons. I thought that was hilarious. Because I'm just imagining from her point of view, it's like, okay, who is this guy coming up and gonna talk to me? Oh, great, he's a LARPer. Now, Zayto, I wasn't sure what to think when I first heard that he was gonna be an alien before the show came out, but I really love what they're doing with it. They're making, they're kind of teasing the fact that he's getting acclimated to modern times, and he doesn't really understand the culture yet, and I think it's really funny. They're doing a really good job with that. And Coolio should definitely be on a shirt. I might put that on a shirt. They didn't copyright that, right? Probably not. Going further into some questions that I have, when Jane is giving the projects to Zayto and Javi about what stories they're gonna be doing, did she know that Javi's sister was the high school athlete? Because what if she handed that folder to Javi? He would have just been like, oh, this is my sister. I know her. I don't even need to interview her. That would have been a very unfair interview comparison process. And I know that I shouldn't think this far into it, but it just so happens that the high school athlete, the best high school athlete, is Javi's sister. And it just so happens that the orb, whatever that like crystal ball thing is, the orb that Javi has to go do a story on has the Dino Fury keys inside of it. What a coincidence. And it just so happens that there's two in there, and there's a brother and sister duo. Just so I know, it's a kid show, I get it. One of the things, just having a job myself, you know, and being part of the working America, it is a horrible thing to do, to hire one person and not the other candidate in front of the other candidate. You don't do that. Usually that's probably done through email, but I felt so bad for Zayto in that moment. I was like, man, this guy like saved our planet. She doesn't know that, but like, you know, give this guy some respect. But I don't really expect that much more from Jane because she is the leader of a tabloid publication positioning itself as a trendy, fun news organization. I didn't think that the monster of the week in this particular episode was really that exciting. I mean, I really like when they're memorable monsters. I'll tell you right now, next week I'm not even gonna remember what this one looks like. So now for the main event, and probably the reason why you clicked on this video, let's talk about the entire skirt situation that has been a large, I don't know why, a large topic of conversation in the Power Rangers community for some reason. Within the Facebook forums and other types of online communities where we all talk about Power Rangers together, what I've been finding is everyone is freaking out about, is Izzy gonna have a skirt or is she not? I don't know why that's interesting, because in the past, many female Rangers have not had skirts before, but I will say this, if there's any reason why I would be curious as an adult, is that, hey, I've seen Rhea Soldier, I know that that character doesn't have a skirt, so I'd be interested to see what they do if they did give Izzy a skirt, just because I understand that they use original Sentai footage, like, what would they do continuity-wise? That's the only thing that I can think of like, why I would be interested in that. And in reality, what we've been seeing in the past 4 episodes is that most of the suited up Ranger content, video footage, is all newly shot footage. So even if they did want to keep her having a skirt, they probably could have. Even like the Zord fights, that's American footage. The Zord fights themselves, the CGI, a lot of that is Rhea Soldier footage. So in the episode, like many of us have already seen for the past few days, but if you didn't already, you would have seen some screenshots online of Izzy ripping off the skirt because she doesn't need it. In the episode, she says, I think skirts are not her thing. I get that. And I understand the message behind it. We are breaking the expectation that female superheroes need to fit this stereotypical archetype where they wear skirts. I understand that. Totally into it. Even if it was just a continuity thing, totally get it. It reminds me of when in Megaforce and Super Megaforce, when Azim, Jake, goes from the black Megaforce Ranger to the green Super Megaforce Ranger, they do like a little commentary joke about it, like, well, you know, there's the simple or the easy explanation for that. They're basically saying, hey, you know, for the Sentai and the footage and having a skirt or not having a skirt, here it is. Here's the line. And with style, she rips off the skirt because she doesn't need it. Why would she? It's honestly, when I think about it, it's like impractical, right? First of all, you have pants underneath it, it's just extra cloth, what if it gets caught on something? You just don't need it. So now, here's the interesting thing though, what me and my friends started talking about, because we geek out about this stuff. Like, what if you watch the episode, basically what happens is when they break the orb that's holding the 2 keys, it just so happens that the black key is in front of Javi and the green key is in front of Izzy. What if that was switched? You know, when we saw the Morphin Masters, the green one came out with a skirt, which is why a lot of people are like, oh, so the Green Ranger's gonna have a skirt. It begs the question, does a morpher assume the gender or what that person identifies as? And I would say, from past Power Ranger series, it does. Bear with me now. What if Izzy picked up the Black Power Ranger's Dino Fury key? What would happen then? Would she be the Black Ranger with a skirt? I think the answer to that is yes, and the reason why is because if you watch Super Mega Force or Gokaiger, There are many scenes, because that is an anniversary series, where they morph into previous teams, where the female characters on the show morph or henshin into Rangers that were men, and when they do, they have skirts. So I don't think it has anything to do with the Morphin Master, the green Morphin Master, having a skirt and technically being a female type of character, Morphin Master from years ago. I think it just has to do with who the person is. Like, let's say, even, forget the scenario I gave you, what if the Pink Ranger just handed her key to someone else and gave it to Zayto, and he used it? What would happen? You could argue that, like, in Dino Charge, the keys are now, the keys are... I'm doing this like I'm actually, like, Gokai changing. You can argue that the Dino Fury keys are, like, matched to the person, which they probably are, but this is just conceptual, guys. It's conceptual. What if the Red Ranger gave his key to Izzy or Amelia? What would happen? The Red Ranger would have a skirt, just like in Power Ranger Samurai or Shinkenger, when the Red Ranger comes, at the end, and she's a girl, obviously, she has a skirt. Her suit is different. So I think a morpher assumes, at least, what type of suit you'd like to wear according to what it believes your gender or what you identify as is. So now, this also begs the question of, can we just alter our suits whenever we want and keep it like that? Because every time, I mean, we've seen cracked visors before, like in Time Force is one specifically that I'm thinking about. When you morph again, it's back to normal. If it's a conscious decision to change your suit, does it stay like that? I know that we're thinking way too far into it. All of this is conceptual, and most of it's for fun, guys. Take it with a grain of salt. Understand it's for fun. But I just thought this was an interesting concept because Hasbro, like, made it a point to kind of give the Green Ranger, the Green Morphin Master, I should say, a skirt, probably to address that Izzy, the Green Ranger, was going to be a female. But in reality, it seems that the morpher is actually, according to seasons like Super Mega Force and Power Ranger Samurai, it is the morpher that actually decides for you what it thinks that you want to look like. So take that for what you will. Discuss it in the comments. Happy to answer any questions or, talk about this. It's an interesting concept. So yeah, guys, what did you think of the episode? What did you think of everything that we talked about? Would love to hear your opinions. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up with this Power Rangers information, news, talk about Tokusatsu, Super Sentai. You could also follow me on social media. Again, I'm most active on Instagram. I'm really trying to do TikTok. I'm trying. I might be too old for it, but I'm trying. I refuse to part my hair down the middle. So that's it, guys. Have a great weekend, and may the power protect you.